Question: should going on a diet break the bank? Answer in a minute. Hi, this is Jan from New York City, and my channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. How's everybody doing today? Hope that this video finds everybody doing well. You know what? Sometimes eating plans, diets, weight loss journey, whatever verbiage you'd like to use, the idea of the act of losing weight can be costly if you are not careful. However, there are ways to get around this. Yes, there are. And Steve today is going to call in, and we are going to talk about just that. So you stick around. Before we get into things, just want to mention, I am not a doctor. No one here is giving you any medical advice whatsoever. Just letting you know how we save money on our attempts of losing weight. And I do have a picture I'm not proud of me of, but I was much heavier at one time, and I lived the journey. I do it day by day. I don't talk about it much, I just live it. But we can talk about cost-saving ways on weight loss. Thank you so much for sticking around. I really do appreciate your time. On the line with me is Steve Young. How you doing, Steve?
Good. How are you?
I'm okay. Today we're talking about losing weight and avoiding trying to break the bank. Now, as I mentioned earlier, disclaimer, I am not a doctor. I am not giving out medical advice of any sort. I'm just going to share my experience, and Steve is going to share his cost-saving experience when it comes to losing weight. I just want to begin to mention I've been battling weight issues almost my whole life. So there are some years where I'm much lighter, and then there are some years where I'm much heavier. It's just one of those things. Could be a genetic thing, but whatever. But I don't judge people by their weight. I judge people by their behavior. But that's me. But specifically talking about how to save money and lose weight. Now, Steve, were you ever on like any, let's say, formal program, if you will, without mentioning names, or were most of your weight loss journey plans something that you did on your own, or powders or mixes or things of that nature?
No, what happened was I had a problem with my right eye, and it would intermittently bleed off and on, and I didn't know why, but I knew that it was a part of my hereditary condition that I have called tuberous sclerosis. So my mom found a doctor that studied natural medicine, which is called homeopathy, which I do highly recommend it if anybody's ever interested. It's sort of like a holistic cure. So what happened was I went and saw the doctor, and she took my vitals, and come to find out, my blood pressure was 152 over 103, and my pulse was kind of on the 85 side, so it was sort of on the high end. So after that, I was introduced to something called a blood type diet. I knew nothing about it. And she said, well, in order to be able to go on the diet, you have to find out what your blood type is. So I made arrangements for that, had my blood work done, come to find out that after my results came back, come to find out I'm O positive, the universal donor. So I was put on a diet. I started doing that, and it was basically having to cut out certain foods. It said that I needed to eat, at least 3 to 4 ounces of red meat per day because they claim that O types are low in iron. So I started with that. And I didn't just settle on that diet. I actually wound up trying different ones. And I really don't know what to call my diet because I had the Atkins diet rolled in there. I had another one called the South Beach diet rolled into the picture. But the biggest thing I feel contributed to helping me lose weight is I gave up all soda on March 29, 2004. That was a life-changing day for me. To this day, I have yet to drink any kind of soda except for maybe a seltzer or a club soda or something along those lines.
So what you're saying, Steve, is that by making one tiny change helped with big results, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by eliminating soda. Wow. And what else did you say you were doing with that?
Well, not only that, I had to go back and literally change the way I ate because I'm giving up sweets and I just had to change the way I eat. I had to get rid of all the fried food, the soda. And I didn't just get off of soda overnight. I had to slowly wean myself away from it, which means I had to slowly transition out of it. And eventually it got to the point to where I would drink water, iced tea unsweetened with lemon. And, I always liked my fruit juices and coffee and things like that, milk.
Steve, hang on 1 second. When we get back, we're going to continue talking about just that. Thank you so much for waiting and coming back. We really do appreciate your time. So Steve mentioned that he made some tiny changes, but Steve, you did the changes on an everyday basis. So would you say that that's the key?
I would say that plays, a better than 50% part of it. The thing of it is I could still, for the most part, eat the same food. I just had to prepare it in a different way. Instead of fried food, I chose, baked or broiled or grilled or some other, less fatty option. I incorporated more vegetables into my diet, fruit, water, unsweet tea.
So the great news is that what you're describing, it doesn't come from a box. It is not prepackaged. It is not just, left frozen for goodness knows how long. And this is not a pricey thing to do, getting back to like the budget aspect of this. So would you say that that method is affordable?
Yes, it is, because what you're basically doing is you're buying. You can be on this particular diet and still be on a budget, because primarily, the way that it worked out for me is that I would eat, a meat of some type, a couple of vegetables, and maybe some type of a starch, whether it be potatoes or rice or something of that nature. But I would make sure that my dinner, not every time, but a majority of the time, was a low carb or not too carby, if that makes sense, dinner.
Now we're touching a gray zone. And I know that you know the answer to this since you have done low carb, and so have I. Everybody out there, low carb can be very costly or moderate or actually quite inexpensive if you play your cards right. Steve, can you offer some inexpensive protein that would play in the role of losing weight? Just something that comes off the top of your head. Because let's face it, proteins, when you go to the supermarket, the grocery store, that's usually the highest price item that I can think of. But yet for a low carb plan, what are we running to? Protein, right?
Protein is the biggest thing. Many don't realize, even though based on that blood type diet, coming back to that I should eat 3 to 4 ounces of red meat. It really doesn't matter what the red meat is, but red meat's not always the answer. Look at your fat content. Red meat is not always the way to go. I would much rather choose a poultry a fish, or even pork. Pork, people don't realize. I'm just as happy eating a nice piece of pork. It is a source of protein, lower in fat.
And lower at the register. You know, ounce for ounce, compare the price of beef versus a package of good quality pork. And there is a significant difference. And for years, pork got the bad rap. And it's not true. It's actually quite lean. That's not to say there aren't some areas of pork that aren't fatty, but you just eliminate those.
Right, that's right.
And the same like chicken. For example, don't eat the skin. The skin is high fat, high, calorie. Just eliminate the skin. Now, what I have done that has worked for me, and Steve too, this I know for a fact, we call it the flip-flop method. What does that mean? Steve, right? What about weekends that, let's say, if you're in your house, you may overindulge on a Sunday, or I'm in my apartment here in New York, and I may decide to overindulge on a Sunday. What do you and I usually do on a Monday? What do we do? Flip-flop, right?
That's right.
Can you describe that?
What that means is, to your subscribers is if you tend to focus more on a certain meal higher carb, the next meal, so let's say you eat a high carb breakfast, pancakes, French toast, whatever the case may be, your lunch, you will back off your carb intake, which means you will go more low carb.
So basically what you're saying is pay attention, right?
Right, pay attention, or if you eat a lower carb breakfast, extremely high carb lunch, back it off at dinner time and go low carb. That's what I'm saying.
Wow, that's, I love this idea. Steve mentioned this to me, years ago, okay? And we were talking about, our weight loss journeys and stuff like that. And proud to say that Steve lost a significant amount of weight years ago. And better than me, he maintains his weight loss. I am beyond proud of you for that, Steve, just for the record.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone can lose weight. It's the maintenance that's the issue. It is the maintenance. But let's get back to saving money. And when we get back, we're going to continue. Okay, so we're going to finally continue and wrap this thing up by mentioning a few important key points. Now, by the way, Steve, thanks for sharing your journey. And it is a journey, and weight loss is definitely, we are all works in progress. Do you agree with that, Steve?
Yes, I do.
So it's not neatly tied up in a ribbon and then you're done with for all eternity. No.
No.
But here's the money. Go ahead, Steve.
No, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Sometimes I wish it did, but in this case, no.
No, me too. I do too as well. Okay, but getting back to money saving tips, the most expensive item, for example, on a low carb plan is the protein. Search for lower costing proteins. And I'll tell you what I do. I enjoy a high protein breakfast, a high protein dinner, and a trace carb lunch. Because for my body type, I need to have at the very least 60 grams or less. If I don't do that, I get unwell. I know this factually for my body. Everybody's body is different. That's why you follow the advice of your healthcare professional. So we're not doctors, and I'm just going to say it again. But as far as saving money, if you're going to go to the market for proteins, Steve recommended pork. Pork is a great source of inexpensive protein. And you mentioned chicken too, right, Steve?
Yeah, chicken is another source of protein. I do recommend like a good cut of chicken breast or similar, like chicken tenderloins, like you used to make chicken strips.
Right.
But that's not always necessarily the case. You can get by with dark meat, which means you could either buy drumsticks or
it's so
or
flavorful. It is so flavorful. You make a great point on that one. And how about turkey burger versus beef burger?
Okay, turkey burger versus a beef burger. If you season it right and you put all the right ingredients in a turkey burger or anything that has to do with ground turkey, you cannot tell the difference in the taste. At least I can't.
And then,
but
go ahead.
I will also throw this in for measure. Ground turkey usually costs a little less than ground beef does.
Bingo. And I have to say, Steve got me into turkey bacon. I love turkey bacon. There's, for me, the flavor, the less grease, the less mess. It's guilt-free. It's great for a low carb. I mean, you can't go wrong with turkey bacon. But the winner of all prizes of cheap protein, ta-da! Eggs. Eggs. Do the math. You can have 1 egg a day. Dr. Oz has said that 1 egg is not going to kill you if you have one every day. Just saying. Just saying. If you're not comfortable about it, check with your own doctor. So when you go to the grocery store, make sure that you have plenty of eggs. They're only like, what, about 80 calories each? You could do so many things with it. Throw in a vegetable. Throw in another piece of meat. This is for the people that are on low carb plans. You don't necessarily need powders. You don't necessarily need just to drink a shake 3 times a day. For me personally, Janet, it is unrealistic to think I never want to chew on something. How do you feel about that, Steve? Only drinking shakes 3 times a day forever.
Oh, no. No. No, because one, it sounds very off balance. I mean, you're not really giving your body exactly what it needs. I mean, you're just giving it something, yeah, but is it really beneficial to you? Are you getting any nutrients from it, any goodness?
Right.
So, you definitely have to factor that into the equation.
And those powders can be costly if you do the math. There was a time I was on a plan where they send you a box full of pre-planned meals, and my former husband said to me, Jan, when are you going to stop eating that space food? Did I lose weight on the plan? I did, but it got boring because I wasn't in control. They pre-picked out the meals, and it was just like same old thing. Like, I like to be creative, so even with food. All right, everybody, we want to thank you so much for spending your time here. We really do appreciate your time. Please come back in the future for another show with some more valuable tips. In the meantime, we're going to play some nice music. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Steve.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye now.